Right chaps, so we left off in League 2. Got promoted with a record number of points, which is exactly the same as what happened in the National League North and the National League, consecutive promotions. We then resided in League 1 and that's where the story finished. So picking up, we finished top of League 1 with 121 points, beating Middlesbrough to the title. That took us up to the Championship. This was just last season, based on where I am now. And we finished on 106 points. 10 points clear of QPR, who were on a ridiculous run themselves, so that was really good going. Wasn't really expecting it. I did improve the squad. As you can see, we were scoring loads of goals. And flicking back to the League 1 season, likewise. Not an awful lot of losses. You'll see the name Andy Goss popping up quite often, and Chaibi. Those two were legends, to be honest, and without them, we wouldn't be anywhere. I managed to make a massive signing in January during the Championship season, which was Salcedo. He really catapulted us to the next level, where after things had dried up a little bit in December, as you can see here, we had a couple of difficult losses. Salcedo came in, steadied the ship, and started bagging a lot of goals. Okay, so jumping into the FA Cup, chaps. This is from League 1, so a couple of seasons ago, and unfortunately we lost to Cardiff in the 5th round. That was despite coming through against Stoke, who were then of the Championship away from home. Really good result there. Andy Goss was fantastic all season. He scored a hat-trick against Stoke. In fact, you can have a quick look at him if you want. There you go. My sort of player, teamwork, work rate, determined. He's an aggressive striker, decent pace and acceleration, just a good all-round player. You probably wouldn't really put him up front naturally, but in a pressing role, he did really well for me. We actually only paid 500 quid to Barry Town for him, so it's probably one of the biggest bargains we've had in the save, I would say. Ended up selling him to Nottingham Forest for 13 million just this season gone, so giving away a bit of the spoiler there for later in the video, but look at that for a record. League goals, that's not even total goals. 20, 28 and then 21 in the Championship. So he has been an absolute legend at the club and won't be forgotten. Last season, Championship, in the FA Cup, we ended up getting all the way through to the quarter-finals. So, very good effort. And to be fair, we got outplayed by Norwich, who have quite a good team. We're on to the current season in the Premier League. This is where I always wanted to get to with the save. I wanted to be in the top flight and challenging for trophies. Had to spend quite a bit of money to get here. We'll have a look at that in a second. But first of all, let's see how the season actually went. We started really well. August was a great month for us, as you can see. 4 wins from 5. Carried that on into the next month. And then things kind of had a little bit of a dip around October, and November was a little bit shaky in places as well. An away draw to Newcastle, an away loss to Fulham. I was starting to get a little bit worried about things. However, you look at that form in December, absolutely brilliant. Yes, the teams aren't great, but we were getting points on the board. As for cup competitions, League Cup, we beat Reading, we beat Hull, Brighton, Newcastle, absolutely flying through the rounds, to the point where we actually got to the final, I think it was. Yeah, so we beat Chelsea on aggregate, which took us through to the final against Man City, and we actually ended up losing 3-4. We were down heavily. I think we were losing something like 4-1 or 4-2, and almost brought it back, but just couldn't quite get over the line, unfortunately. Anyway, we bounced back with a win against QPR, winning 6-0. We ended up finishing in 4th spot, which I thought was absolutely amazing, considering the team we've got, the budget we've got, what we've spent, and where we've come from. We've had consecutive promotions from the National League North, National League, League 2, League 1, and the Championship. That's 5 consecutive promotions. And to do this in our first season in the Premier League is, well, it's brilliant. I think the last time I did this was probably with my Scarborough save, and that was back in FM20. So before we go through the squad, guys, so you can see what our Premier League squad actually looks like, I want you to go through the transfers from League 1's season all the way through to the Premier League, just so you can get a rough gauge of what we had to do to get A, the financial status we've got, which you'll get to see in a second, it's very good, and B, be able to climb through the leagues. Dewsbury Hall, he's now not with us, he's at Sunderland, but we got him in for midfield. We got Dionku from Man City at right back, good player. Reece Devine for left back, and that was pretty much it, other than Will Fish, who came on loan for centre back for the first teamers. But these two guys here at the top and Gorka Rodriguez, these are the ones we need to focus on. So Kutsabas, he came when he was about 15, 16, back in the National League, but he was actually with us in the North as well for the very end of the season on trial. Couldn't play him for those first couple of seasons. However, we got him on the pitch for League One. And while his average rating isn't brilliant, and he wasn't mind-blowingly good, he was just consistently good. And to the point where he was developing so fast, I recognised the fact we were going to make a huge profit if we kept going that way. Bournemouth, sure enough, came in at the end of League One season and paid £7.5 million for him, which was huge, because that meant that £7.5 million went towards players for the Championship. Aguirre, likewise, we developed him, nowhere near that level when we first got him, but he played reasonably well enough to warrant being played, especially in the Championship. He developed quite a lot in that first season. We only paid 12k for him, ended up selling him for just shy of 17 million during our first Premier League season, which again, huge windfall for the club, meant I could spend quite a bit of money. Gorka Rodriguez, this guy, he basically was so much worse than that. I couldn't even begin to describe. He's come along a lot in his League One season. He only got 6 assists and didn't score a goal. However, you could see the attributes rising. Again, a great investment, came for a free. That Championship season last season, he was sensational. 7 assists, 3 goals, and just such a consistent player. Created havoc down the right wing, opening up play. We ended up loaning him out to West Brom this season, just gone, while we're in the Premier League, purely because I wanted him to get as much game time as possible. I didn't think I could offer him it. But looking at the way his stats have developed further, I think he's going to be our first choice right winger for the season to come. Moving on to the Championship season. Again, you've got a shed load of signings, but even more sales. 13.5 million raised in sales. So Devine went for 2.5 million to Sheffield United. That's because I managed to bring a youngster in who I thought could do a job. Chaibi went for 1.9 million, rising to 2.3. Reason for that, now this guy was an absolute legend again, another fantastic player for us. Started from the National League North level all the way up to the Championship. He scored 33 goals in his first full season, 39 in the second, 27 in League One, and then he dried up at Championship level. And this was my concern. I didn't feel like he could provide us with the goals we needed going into top flight. So I decided to cash in on him and find some new strikers. But what we managed to do with all that money raised is we got a player called Brun, who is a really talented young centre-back. We got Tipple, who cost us fuck all, purely for the reason that Fulham, for whatever reason, had him on the transfer list for 84k. I could not believe my luck. Anyway, we got him in, he did quite well. Angel Moreno, yes, 2.6 million we paid for him. He was a really quality player for the left wing. Samuel Ricky, he's now left the club, but we paid 1.6 million initially for him. And he had a really good season in the Championship, scoring 9, assisting 6. In the end, went off for a profit to Nottingham Forest, like a lot of our players have done actually, in fairness. Other notable signings, Gruezo. I paid 1.1 million for this guy, and I cannot for the life of me get a bloody work permit. It's doing mine nothing. But I'm hoping we're going to get that fixed soon enough, as he is getting some appearances for his national country, Colombia. So we've had to loan him out for now. But as you can see, he's got bags of talent. He is going to be a corker, or at least we will end up cashing in on him. Salcedo, this guy was the big move in January that probably got us promoted and won us the title. He's improved a lot since then as well. Look at all those lovely amber coloured arrows, love seeing that. And yeah, in the Championship season he scored 16 goals, 7 assists from 20 games. Schuller came in for 90k. I'd actually arranged this deal back when we were in the National League, believe it or not. So yeah, it just took that long to get it over the line purely because he was so young. I think he was 14 when I originally found him. But as you can see, he developed so well. Really good player. He's going to get overtaken by others, but did a fantastic job for us in the Championship, being used in rotation. And he got used off the bench an awful lot in our first Premier League season. So considering he cost me 90k, which is peanuts, and we'll sell him for millions, I thought that was a great investment. And most important player of all, this kid has got it all. Speed, aggression, determination, he makes good decisions, teamwork, passing, he can even head a ball. He's got talent when it comes to dribbling. He's going to be a good shooter. I'm developing that side of his game. Reasonable technique. I've trained him up to be central midfield as a box-to-box midfielder, but he could play a number of different positions. And moving on to the current season, this is where it's all happening. That figure there is scary, 168 million. However, we've got loads in the bank still, and a lot of it's on instalments. The big thing for me is to look at the players we managed to sell. So Schroeder went for 10 million despite us getting him for absolute peanuts. We've already mentioned Ricky and Aguirre going. We saw Power for 1.6 million, so a profit there. Roberto Carlos Martin, who was one of our central midfielders in the Championship season and played very well. He ended up getting sold because we've got so many cracking central midfielders coming through the ranks. I just can't keep up, and we needed to offload some numbers. Eliosius, we managed to get this guy on a free transfer from Telford back in the National League North season. He actually joined us for League 2 in the end, but the deal was done before that. We paid 125k for him, so he wasn't exactly cheap. However, we sold him for 6 million, so I'm happy with that. He never really developed the way I thought he would, hence why I decided to cash in on him while we could. A few other players going. Like I mentioned, Andy Goss, devastated that he had to go, but he wasn't getting game time and it was not fair on Goss to keep him rotting in the team. Now for the goodies, the bit we all love, looking at the current squad and seeing where the club is actually at. It is a joy to look at all those golden stars with a black at the end. That means you've got a quality prospect in the making, and actually, if you look down here, you can see just how good the players are. Now, remember, this is relative to the squad, kind of relative to the league as well, but more our squad of players as a whole. So if we haven't got much strength in depth in defence, some of these players may have higher star ratings than they will end up having once we add to the squad. So we've got Ray Savage. I signed him from Nottingham Forest. He is going to be a fantastic goalkeeper, England's #1 for certain. 19 years old, and we bought him during the at the end of the Championship season, I believe, for £16.5 million. Andre Carvalho, he is our right back. Really good player, great defensively, can cross, speed, stamina, work rate. He's just got everything I need. He's 21, so he's going to be around for a long time, and we actually paid 25.5 million, so we did probably overspend on that a little bit, but there aren't many players as good as Carvalho in that position. On the left side, Capadonna, I've been scouting this guy for quite some time. He comes from Italy, 19 years old, fast as hell, good all-round defensive attributes, needs work on his crossing, but everything looks good. The wheel is quite well balanced. And if you look here, 5 goals, 7 assists in his first season. We paid 20.5 million to Empoli. I think that is a snap, in all honesty. Going into our two main centre-backs, we've got Herbert. He's got so much potential for a 19-year-old. That jumping, along with his balance and strength and his aerial ability in general, is what I'm really excited about. I just want to improve his dribbling, touch and his technique, just to try and round things out a little bit, but he's going to be a corker. We paid 32 million, over the odds, possibly. However, he's English, isn't he? So I did want to have a classic Tony Adams type English centre-back, and we now have it. Stella! Nicolo Stella. His attributes have dipped of late, which I didn't realise. That's quite frustrating. However, he has got a lot of potential, so don't be deceived by that. he is going to improve twofold, and we paid 12 million. So I thought that was a reasonable price to play for a decent player. Moving quickly into midfield, Denea. We paid not too much to him, I don't think. It was about 10 million, something like that. He's fast, he can dribble, and he's got a bit of skill. This guy's going to be the main man on the left going forward, I would say. He scored 7 goals after joining in January. We're going to sign another left winger, but we'll cover that another day. In central midfield, I'm very excited about this. Strickland, you've already seen. I won't go over that again. He's got lots of potential. I'm not quite sure he's the type of central midfielder I want, though, so he may well be leaving. Todorovic, again, I've got to show you him. He's a legend. I think he's going to be freaking amazing. Another couple of years, and his stats are going to be through the roof. Daniel Foresti, we managed to get him on a release clause of 5.5 million, despite interest from Liverpool, Arsenal, lots of big clubs. I don't understand why he's only valued at 3.8 million. Makes no sense to me whatsoever because he had such a good season. Yes, his average rating's quite low, but he did get 8 assists, and he looked pretty solid to me in the match engine, which is what matters. Salcedo, again, you've seen him shortly anyway. He scored 12 goals from 30 games. That includes a lot of substitute appearances, in fairness to him, because he wasn't first choice, believe it or not. Juanma Lara was, and we actually paid 12.5 million for him, which I thought was a snap personally, especially for a player who got 24 goals in 37 starts. Good all-round ability. He's fast, he's well balanced, agile, determined. Yeah, just a really good all-round player, and he can play the role that I need. Alex Louis was the other striker to partner Lara. He wasn't consistent in terms of scoring goals, hence why I ended up switching him and Salcedo around quite often, which, to be fair, you can tell why. 13 for finishing isn't exactly great, and his technique isn't brilliant, but he's a good all-round striker, and in fairness to the lad, he did still get 11 goals. He scored about a goal every 3 games. I think that's a good return for your first season. Yes, we paid 16 million, but he has a lot of potential. You've always got to bear that in mind in terms of what the prospective sell-on value of a player could be. Horvath is the backup left back. That's going to remain the case for a little while, I would say. He's got quite a bit of potential and still some ability left in him. Signed him on a free transfer, so at the end of the day, you can't complain at that. We're probably going to cash in massively on him. I've already mentioned Tippelt here. He's kind of started working his way into the background a little bit. I'm going to try and replace him in the coming season with Rodriguez, who's coming back from West Brom. You'll see work permits popping up on my save. That's because if I see a player that's available really cheap, I ain't bothered whether he needs a work permit or not. And that's the case with Macania. 825k seemed like a snap to me, considering just how good he actually is. We will be able to make a lot more money than that going forward, and hopefully playing for South Africa, he may get a work permit soon. So having seen the squad, seen the transfers, seen how we've risen through the leagues, there's our balance. 53 million. And to be fair, this about sums it up really. Some of that is a little bit misleading based on the fact that I've sold players for full profit and upfront fees, whereas I have signed players with instalments to stretch my budget in order to get the best players possible for the future. It is a wise move because it's going to pay back twofold, and our wage budget is like ridiculous. Would have actually been nice to show you the wage breakdown, but I can't actually find it at the moment, so I'll show you the sponsorship income instead. If you could see the wages, you'd be absolutely shocked by how little we spend compared to everyone else, but the sponsorship about sums it up. So we're 19th, only just above QPR, getting 13.75 million a year in sponsorship, whereas Man United are up there on their pedestal getting 230 million. So that is what we're up against. Even if you look at the mid-table teams, they're earning almost double what we are from the sponsorship income. The stadium's tiny, there's not a lot of money to be made from that. However, the board have been fantastic. They're upgrading everything whenever I ask them. We're now onto good youth facilities, that's getting upgraded again. Good data facilities, excellent training facilities, so that's about there now, and average corporate facilities. So things are on the right direction. So just to finish things off, guys, I just want you to use this little screen, this little graphic, to sum up what this lower league story has been all about for me, which is the development of youth. Bringing players in young, develop them, sell them on at a massive profit, and I'm going to keep on doing that. That's going to be the idea of the save going forward. So the 16-year-old Ben Zaken is our youngest first teamer. The oldest is actually 23, Salcedo, because Jansen's out of contract and Rory Watson is just a fringe goalkeeper. So I think that graphic sums it up. Look at all those 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds. I've taken up way too much of your time, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Much appreciated. Apologies again that I couldn't keep up with the writing of the story on footballmanagerstory.com. Head over to the website if you want any tips, or if you want to check out some cool articles. There's lots of good stuff going on there, loads of new writers. And make sure that you subscribe and click the alert button for this YouTube channel. There's going to be lots more content coming. Patrick's going to be releasing stuff every Sunday minimum, probably even midweek. I'm going to release some stuff, hopefully keep this going now so you can keep up to date with my York City save, and maybe even see a little bit of what I do in game, which would, I'm sure a lot of you would enjoy getting involved in. I'm going to sign off at that, guys, so thank you very much for watching and take care.